Well, hello there everyone, and welcome once more into the game development trenches in the form of a live stream. So, what are we doing today? Today I was thinking we would probably try to finish the truck that we've been working on for the past few streams. Let's see the state we are in here. So last time we spent almost all time on stream UV unwrapping this vehicle here, which we can now see actually has some textures. Even though they're mostly single colored textures, they are still textures, and we essentially only have the wheel, or shall we say the whole wheel assembly untextured. So we have like this wheel here, we have the pieces of the wheel assembly itself, we have the suspension springs. They don't have any kind of textures applied to them yet. So let's go into the game and see what we are looking at here. This is a pretty sort of highly work in progress design for this thing yet. Not sure about these colors. Also, what we are currently completely missing is all kinds of like dirt painting and things like that. That will come later, and that's not something I typically do on stream because I don't really have my drawing display set up for streaming essentially all that well. But that's neither here nor there. That can be done another day. Before we do any dirt painting, we're going to want to make sure that we are actually using the proper materials and all of that, right? And so, if we drive this guy, let's open the main gate up there in the base, so we can actually enter it. We drive this guy into the base and into the warehouse. We can see that we are actually not using the proper material for the wheels and for the wheel assemblies yet, because the lighting is sort of clearly not the correct lighting. All the rest of the vehicle is pretty good, well, except for the missing dirt painting. It looks a little uninteresting, but it's mostly just like single colored areas. And I just kind of want to break up that feeling a little bit by doing a little bit of dirt painting. Now we can see that now the vehicle is kind of like reacting to the surrounding ambience. The thing that clearly doesn't do it are like the wheels and the wheel assemblies. You can fly under the floor here and have a look at this. So like these things, including the springs and all of that. But the rest of the vehicle now picks up on like the indirect lighting through light probes and all of that. So that's kind of neat. Starting to look good. And so, since I will be releasing pre-alpha 2 for you guys to play in a few days, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to more or less finish this vehicle today, unless something comes up that I like a really bad bug or something like that. That might mean that I have to spend more time on it. But my plan is to release the build on Monday, and so I'm gonna have to pretty much like now figure out, okay, which things are things that I can actually get into the build if I have like 3.5 days left to do that. And I'm thinking like the visuals for this guy should mostly be done today. We don't have a sound effect for this, like an engine sound effect for this guy yet. I'm hoping to get that in for pre-alpha 2. Let's see how that will actually work. But that might be something that I have to leave out if there is some other arguably more important thing to take care of. But regardless, let's try to get the visuals done today, and a large part of that actually here on the stream. And we're not very far from having it sort of in shape for pre-alpha 2. We have tire tracks now, as you can see, left behind by the vehicle, and we have the same cartoon dust particle thing there, which may or may not be a placeholder. I haven't exactly decided yet. It's also been tweaked a little bit. It's also now casting shadows, which is kind of neat, I guess, and it gives it a little bit more sort of feeling when driving this thing. And like the tire tracks now also leave tracks in the grass, which is of course kind of neat. So let's get started on the wheels, on texturing these guys, and then probably doing a little bit of modeling, because this is still like just like basically an empty room, this interior here. I want to get like a little bit of sort of cockpit feeling to that. Just a little. I'm not gonna spend like a whole lot of time on modeling interiors necessarily in this game, and I have indeed not done that for the other vehicles either. So let's not do it for this one. But basically, I want to make sure that we have these things unwrapped properly. So all of the things that are in the suspension and wheel section, yeah, that's these guys here. They should be unmapped properly or unwrapped properly, but they are probably not UV mapped in such a way that we can pack them nicely. So that has to be done as well. So let's start with that. And just as before, if you have any questions regarding anything I do, just feel free to ask them in the chat. Even though I'm working, I try to answer any questions you have. It's pretty early in the day for a stream, and I realize that like most of the Western world is either at work still or sleeping. So it might take a little bit of time for any audience to show up here, but that's okay. This is kind of what I need to do today, so probably gonna stream for a little while. Rightio. So let's have a look at these objects individually first, to make sure we know what we're looking at here. So stretching looks pretty good, at least on the wheel. And I don't think there's really any overlap either. That's probably fine. You have these things. These are super simple, so there shouldn't be really any confusion with these at all. Same thing with this, probably. Yep. And then we have this thing called the knuckle. This is kind of what like goes inside of the wheel when it's fastened to the suspension. Looks pretty good, but we have a little bit of unnecessary geometry there, so maybe we can spend a little time simplifying that. What about this? So this is the suspension. It's made up of like 2 pieces. And this one sort of like goes into this other one, and then that is how we get like a suspension that can be longer or shorter. But I realize here that we actually have a face here we don't need. That can be completely just removed. And arguably we could remove like these faces as well. But I think I'm gonna leave them for the time being. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. And then this would actually like have to be some sort of hole. It is of course not. So this thing should never come off sort of like this far. It should always be something like that. Now we have sort of like the suspension spring there. But that's fine. Let's concentrate on this guy for a little bit. See what we can do here. I'm thinking we don't need... Kinda don't need that one. Actually, yeah. Try to get rid of those. And that. And I specifically wanted these lines to be there, so that's pretty good. That one, maybe that one is fine as well. I mean, this will be triangulated anyway before it reaches the game, so you know, it might be that we have to. Well, now it probably gets triangulated like this, not like that, and maybe like that or something like that. That's probably fine. Let's keep a few of those kind of support edges there, so that we don't get any super weird, completely broken triangulation going on. What do we have here then? Thinking like most of these we don't really need, at least on the blender level. We wanted to keep a few of them. That's fine. That's probably fine. Now we probably don't need those either. Can we get rid of that? Nope. Not yet, at least. Actually, let's just merge that together with that, right? That's probably better. Something like that. Now I bet we can get rid of that, and we can. So this doesn't necessarily mean that that the geometry in the final game will be simpler, but at least we have something that's a little easier to work with here in Blender. So, and it's up to Blender, or in this case probably Asimp, to actually triangulate it in some sensible way. Okay, that looks better. So now we can take these guys, all of those. These are not actually part of the wheel assembly. They're the actuator for the bed, and that has actually been textured already. So we take these guys, and we quite simply unwrap them based on angle. You get something that looks like this. That's not very good. Why is that on top of the other thing? That's actually kind of confusing. That looks sensible. And that looks sensible. Alright, that's better. What is this thing? That is strange. That's a strange thing. Something inside of here, is it? Oh, that thing has probably just not been... Yeah. Yeah, you can see that there's actually all sorts of craziness going on here. So here we need to add a seam, and there we need to add a seam. Mark seam. And then that's just actually intersecting geometry. Let's do something like add a seam there. And yeah, we can add one there on the side. Alright, that should be better. Now we don't have these very strange looking islands there. That's fine. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So now if we have this, now we need to pack this more optimally, because this looks really bad. And for packing, I typically use Packmaster 3000, which is an add-on for UV Packmaster 3. It's actually called not 3000 but 3. UV Packmaster 3. Let's use the same. Let's use the same settings I've used for the rest of the vehicle. So we select all of them. Enable rotation, margin set to 0.007, and heuristic search. And that means that it will try to find the optimal layout to pack these guys. And with this kind of margin, I typically try to aim for 0.7. We can't quite get there with this particular one. That's probably completely fine. We don't actually have that many islands here, so there's not that many different ways to actually map these guys. And we can leave this running for a little bit, but I'm thinking we're probably approaching the best thing possible pretty soon, actually. .066, that's actually pretty good already. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. Let's do a little bit of fixing up here, because like this algorithm typically tends to like not put things in the middle of these spaces. So I just kind of like to do this, you know, if we don't have that many to work with, you can kind of do this by hand. If they're just an absolutely massive number of these guys, then I typically don't do it, but just for my own peace of mind, try to space these out a bit more evenly. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Can maybe bring that down just a smidge. Something like that. Right, so let's turn on texture again. Have a look here. The wheel is obviously the most important one, because the wheel is the one that's going to be the most visible to the player. And specifically the front and the like outer part of the wheel. Then we have the inner part, which we actually dedicate quite a lot of space to still. You know what we could do here? We have this thing which is like slightly conical, this part here. We could actually map it so that it's quadratical. So it's probably like that guy. So if we put the camera here, and we can see here that like these lines just kind of like go every which way here. Nothing is sort of aligned with anything. And so we take this one and we use quadrify on it. Now we can see that now all of a sudden they are sort of aligned nicely with the wheel. We get a little bit of distortion, which is what happens here if we do this sort of thing. but still I think that's probably better, and that should actually potentially even allow us to get a little bit better packing. I'm gonna want to do the packing again though. Oh. Yeah, actually unwrapping does that thing, so let's just do quadrify and now pack. Yeah. Alright, so now we are already at 0.68. And I think like arguably this looks better than what we had before. But of course this is like inside the wheel, so I'm gonna have to look pretty carefully if we want to actually see this when you're playing the game. Oh, that's fine. 685. Let's leave it running for a few more seconds. .687. Can like almost get to 0.7 here. And that's really nice because I'm gonna want to probably not have a very big texture for this guy. Thinking like 512 or like 1K at the tops, but I'm thinking 512 should probably be good enough for this. Okay, that's fine. So let's do just the same kind of like spacing out of these guys a little bit here while we're at it. Did a pretty good job this time around. And I guess you don't really typically need to do this. If you set the margin to something, it will actually keep that margin. And that's nice. Now if we isolate just the wheel and have a look at it here. Yeah, a little bit of distortion there in the grid. That's completely fine. We don't care about that at all. Okay, good. And I think we're done with all the UV unwrapping now for all of the pieces. So what I have here currently with this vehicle is that like the main vehicle is one material. You can see here material main. And you have this this gripper arm here in the front. It is one material arm, and then you have the bed, which involves or includes these hatches and the actuator parts. That's material bed. So this is gonna be like material wheel or material wheel assembly or something like that. I think material wheel is just fine. So here's my workflow for this. I have a handy little script here which we will call, or which we will use to create a bunch of textures. So wheel. Whoop. Caps lock is on. Gripper truck wheel, and this one I'm just gonna set to 1K. Like I said, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna downscale the texture for the game in conversion to be just 512, but let's work with 1K textures here in Blender. And those won't actually end up in the game. There we go. So what this did was it created a bunch of images, 4 of them specifically, which you can find here: wheel, color placement, diffuse, edge highlights, and painted details. The painted details one is something that we're not going to touch on in this stream. It's the one that I then paint a little bit of crap on top of the different parts by hand. Using my drawing display, but the other 3 we're gonna touch on. So the first thing to do is to do the edge highlights, and you can see here the edge highlights on these other materials are sort of like these things that I can actually toggle that on and off. If I go to here and just toggle that on and off. Actually, I probably need to have to be in this mode for it to work. So you can see sort of like the the effect that the edge highlights have on the material. And so we need to bake those. So let's go to wheel and set the material to be edge highlights. I'm gonna have to be in rendered. What is this called? Yeah, rendered mode for that to work. And we're gonna want to set all of these objects to be that material. And furthermore, I want to make sure that there's no other slot here for anything. Looks pretty all right. And this is a material which is a little bit of a hack. Hey Arcane, welcome back. This material is a little bit of a hack. It basically like uses a bevel together with a dot product to sort of find areas on the mesh that are sort of like on the edge of something. And this thing works pretty well with like large things. For some reason it has a noise problem, as you can see here, with these round objects. Now this is something that's going to be applied on top of the rest of the material sort of components at the very end at a reasonably small, with a reasonably small strength. So I'm thinking these things are completely fine actually. If it turns out that these are somehow a problem, we can always lower the strength from here, and you can get it to be a bit more manageable. You can see here if we want like really thin, really thin highlights, you can set the radius to something really small. But since these objects are already very small, we want the highlights to be roughly the same size as the rest of the vehicle's highlights. So I'm thinking this is probably fine, and we are going to basically bake these and see how that works. So now we need to select the correct one. So one of those images that we created through that script earlier. So that would be wheel edge highlights, like so. We select emit because this is an emissive material. Emission is the node that we use here. And then make sure this node is highlighted so it bakes to that material. And then we bake. And this is going to take a little bit of time. This machine's GPU is not very good, and so some of these bakes take a long time, but these are actually quite small objects, so it doesn't seem to take all that long. And there we go. So this texture now looks like this. Looks a little messy, but I think it probably will work out just fine. So now we can go back to this. We don't need to be in rendered anymore. And I'm going to want to save this image. And at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take one of the other materials and we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to create material wheel. And let's fake a user for that. And then we can go in here, and this is sort of like my standard material for most things in the game actually these days. It has a slot for all of those 4 textures. So that's just like a mess from the last time I used this. Color placement, so that would be like the wheel color placement. Then we have diffuse. This is essentially like the output. So wheel diffuse. Painted details is of course wheel painted details, and then edge highlights is edge highlights wheel. That's the only one we have currently. So now we can see that, okay, now we have a yellow wheel with the highlights, I might add. So now if we make all of these guys use that, you see, what is that? There's something a little funky there, but I think that'll be completely fine. Unless we have some other. interesting issues. There's a little bit of something there. Might have to look at some of these highlights a little bit. Wheel. Instead of having the yellow one, let's just make it black for the time being, and we can kind of inspect these. So the highlights should look mostly the same. Of course, this time around they actually are coming from the baked texture as opposed to being rendered in Blender. Yeah, not sure what that is. Maybe we can fix it by hand. This one also has some crap. And these ones as well. Yeah, and the problem here is most likely that we need to perhaps up the margin a little bit. I'm thinking 16 pixels is probably, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not actually an issue. Let's try to just fix these by hand, because this is such a small texture after all. Typically I bake at like 4K or something, and then I downscale it again. This time around I went with just 1K because I figured that's going to be enough for this. I'm thinking now that maybe it actually wasn't quite enough. Regardless, let's try to fix this just by painting with the mouse here, and let's see what happens. So, edge highlights, yeah, that should be good. Airbrush. What is actually the issue? I'm not seeing any change. Oh, it is probably because I'm... Oh, I actually have this thing selected, huh? Oh. How interesting. Okay, it does work. It does work. Yeah, okay. It's probably just that, like, Blender's texture painting is a little wonky at this small scale. Like so. Let's go to this guy. See what do we have here that needs fixing. Like, I want to emphasize that I typically don't need to do this. Just something that kind of seems to have happened this time around. I might be able to tweak the baking flags to fix this, but nah. I'm just gonna fix it by hand this time around. These objects are so very small anyway that the highlights are almost invisible, and they're sort of like underneath the car inside the wheel anyway, so why can't I seem to draw on this now? Do we actually have some overlapping here? That would also explain it. Do we have some overlap? Let's see. Nope. No overlap anywhere. Like here, for example, I can't seem to actually, no matter how much I paint on this guy, it just doesn't show up. I seem to be able to take away things, but I can't paint it back. That's like, what? What is that about? so now I can. Let's do this again. More carefully this time. Let's make sure we don't get any anything here on the wheel. This looks almost perfect, I'd say. So that's good. I think most of this is also good, but we have a little bit of crap here on these guys. So let's just quickly fix this up as well. And we can move on to other things. Okay, again I can't quite paint. Is it the fact that I just need to basically select this as the primary object? It probably is. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, that's probably fine. Now we can switch back to slightly less heavy color here. We can start to see what these things are actually going to be looking like. Yeah, there's a little bit of stuff here still that's missing. Let's make sure we have this one. This guy selected. It's actually this kind of like this back side of this object that's going to be more visible to the player if they make the effort to look inside the wheel. There we go. That's better than good. That's good enough. Hey, Poseidon, welcome back. Long time no see. Is it? Is it though? Maybe. I don't remember anymore. I believe you if you say it is. Okay, so these pieces, these three pieces here, are supposed to be sort of a continuation of this suspension fixture thingy here. So I think they should be at least the same color. They should have the same base color as those things there. And if we look at that, I think it's probably this base color. That one. So let's go with that base color for this material as well. Yeah, that looks believable, shall we say. So let's save that. Let's make sure all images are saved. They are. And then I'm gonna go to probably the Scout wheel assembly. Oh, this is just the wheel assembly. Okay, Where's the actual wheel then? Here it is. Okay. So here's the wheel for the Scout, and I'm gonna want to have the color from that. I believe it is probably like this one, right? Yes. So that's the color for the wheel. Thank you. That's all we need from you. Let's go into the material here and set it to the first one. So the way I do this currently, when I assign different colors to different parts of the well, whatever I'm texturing, is that I have sort of like a matrix of colors. Here I have 6 plus the base color, which is here. You can have essentially any number of them. The math is just a little different. And then I have like the red channel, the green channel, and the blue channel for a texture that I use to control how much of each of these to apply to a certain area. And now we assign this value to the red channel with the value 0.25. There's also a red channel 0.5, which just means that like if we add more to the red channel of this color placement texture, we're going to get this color instead, which is now almost the same as that one. Anyway, long story short, if we now want to apply this wheel color to the parts of the wheel that we consider to be the actual, rubber of the wheel, we're going to want to, what do we have here? What do we have? Overlap. Oh no. Really? Really? That's not good. We can't have that. Or we probably can, but we kind of don't want to. So where is the overlap? Where's the overlap, my dude? Come on. Select that. There we go. So it's claiming there's overlap. I don't necessarily believe it to be true. Like we can clearly see here that there's actually no overlap at all. So yeah, let's not care about that. Oh, we have some questions. What do you use Ziz for in your project? I assume you mean Zig. It's for the actual game programming. It is. Yes. Yes. We can have a look at Zig, and we probably actually will have a look at the Zig code a little bit later in the stream. Well, I can show you right now. For example, here's the truck bed component, which I messed around with earlier today. Truck bed component for this vehicle. So it's this thing here, which you can rotate, open and rotate, and it has these hatches that you can open and all of that. And the code for actually managing that looks like this. It's maybe a little too large for my taste. Where does it say how big that is? Didn't it? Oh, here we go. Here's the, yeah, okay. Alright, so now it's It's a little bigger. Now it's 2 times bigger. So yeah, this sort of thing, creating the physics parts for the thing, applying the steering values, calculating the actuator transforms, that sort of thing. Here's a truck bed pose resetter. So it's like if you drive the truck and you rotate the thing like this, and then you rotate this, you know, like that, and then you press a button, then it actually kind of resets that thing down to this sort of stuff. That's what I use Zig for. Yes, so very much like if you consider a Unity game. A Unity game is a game running on a C++ engine. With gameplay code written in C#. And this game is a C++ engine with the gameplay code written in Zig. So it's a pretty similar situation. Yeah, now we don't get any overlap here. And now we do. Okay, maybe it just takes a while for it to appear. Anyway, I don't really believe that to be the case, so I'm not gonna care about that. But we're gonna select the parts here that we kind of consider to be off the wheel. And here I've been maybe a little stupid. Not a lot, but a little stupid, because now we have sort of like this, like these things are supposed to be. Like this, that's supposed to be part of the wheel, and so it's sort of like in the middle of an island there. Same thing here actually. Oh, that was probably dumb of me, but hey, I think there is a little bit of a point in this, in that if I want to have this be as few islands as possible, I think that is what I was thinking at the time, and those would be the places to actually have the seams at, with having like as little distortion as possible. So that's probably what it is. Anyway, did you see the state of the Sigtoverse 2026? I did, yeah. If you mean the cursed stream from yesterday, they were trying to essentially have this presentation for where Zig is going already a couple of days ago, and stream just didn't want to cooperate, and they had the same issue yesterday. So Andrew, the leader and creator of the language, then just streamed it on his own channel instead of going through the official ways, so to speak. Right, let's see here. We have this was the color we wanted the wheel to be, and it's R25. R for red. So I'm gonna select the red here, and then we're gonna paint onto the color placement, and my Spidey sense tells me that I need to click 5 times if I have strength set to 0.15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at that. My Spidey sense was correct. And now we have the wheel colored kind of nicely. How do you code the suspensions for the truck? I mean, just the overall concept of it. Do you mean the visual side or the physics side? Because they are two very different things. Do you mean like the physical responses and all of that, or do you mean like the visuals? Right, then we have this middle here. Should we maybe make some of this like a different color? Would that be cool? And here we have some. Yeah, this is what happens when you use this flood fill in Blender. The flood fill is one of the things that I use probably the most, and it's one of the things that I feel Blender is the worst at. I'm gonna have to fix that up in just a second. And here's what happens when you have this thing that I spoke of earlier, when you have like the switch there right in the middle of an island. You get these jaggies. But that doesn't matter because we're gonna downscale this anyway, and the wheel is gonna be like maybe this size on the screen, so it doesn't matter. But like, if I was a better 3D artist, I would care. Physics. Okay, so I'm using PhysX for the vehicles in the game. And that means that PhysX takes care of most of the actual simulation. I just need to pass it the correct flags, right? And then out of the flags that it gives me back, out of the information that it gives me back, I can then render the wheels and all of that. So I like to have my vehicles in this game have pretty loose suspension. You can see that it kind of like it actually hits the max compression quite easily, and just because I feel that's more fun to drive. And in particular, like this huge vehicle called the Mother, you can spawn in a Mother from here. This thing has like a completely custom. This is still physics driven, the actual like physics of it all, but I have like a completely custom sort of visual for this thing. Like you have this sort of like double spring setups here. Let's pause the game. I have like springs in the front there, and then you have springs here on the back of these suspension arms. And actually, like the physics don't match the visuals at all. This thing has 8 wheels that are independently like suspended with springs from the physics side, and then I just take that and do a little bit of math magic there, and I essentially like approximate how a physics system like this would work. So I have these suspension arms that have like place for a couple wheels. So it's like this entire thing, which is connected to this other thing here, to this other wheel, and then has these two springs. And none of that exists like on the physics engine side. But I just think it looks cool, so I kind of fake it in that sense. Hey personal AD, welcome back. But yeah, a lot of this is just smoke and mirrors. This stuff is quite simply just using a very simple sort of physics model there on the PhysX side. What's the ultimate goal with this game? Will there be a streamlined story to go through? There will, yes. Yes. There will be a campaign. Probably won't be super long, super complicated, but I'm working with this is mostly a solo development thing. I'm working with a friend of mine who is a narrative designer to actually to flesh out the story a little bit. And then there will be modding and sandbox modes and all of that. Anyway, to go back to the suspension thing still. Here's the Mother vehicle's vehicle definition. We have a wheelbase, which is sort of like if you don't specify anything for a wheel, they get these things set up for them. And then Then we have wheels separately, and we can see that like the left front wheel, for example, this max steer angle is overridden from being 0 to actually being 0.7 here. And here we just have spring strength, spring damper rate, and then suspension compression, and droop. So these things basically set up the, well, you have the camber angle as well, but it's not really technically needed, I guess. And then, you know, out of that, you get, we go to vehicles, we get some stuff out of the physics engine. The wheel state info tells me sort of like the suspension jounce, suspension spring force, and of course like transforms and things like that for all of the wheels. And that then allows me to just like draw those springs and all of that. And yes, the ultimate goal for the game is, of course, to launch it as a product that people can buy and play. But you can already play early versions of this. So there's one version which is available right now. If you join the Discord, you can find it on the announcement channel on Discord. And Pre-Alpha 2 will be out next Monday. So Pre-Alpha 1 is already out, Pre-Alpha 2 will be out next Monday, and features, among other things, this new vehicle, which lets you pick up things with this this gripper claw in the front, and load them in the back. And there is even an early version of a campaign mission that you can play through. So do check it out if that sounds interesting. And I am planning on releasing mod support with the next pre-alpha build, which should allow you to create your own systems for the game, and like level editors and things like that will come probably at a slightly later date. I could release it like today if I wanted to, the level editor. I fully own that as well, but I want to make it a little nicer before I do that. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see, save all images. So again, I think I'm gonna want to take a piece of this and make it different color. Actually, let's start with the beginning there and kind of flood it outwards. Look at that, it selected exactly the pieces I wanted. Let's make those a different color. I'm gonna use the green channel for that, for example. So that would be truck wheel color placement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go. And then if we don't like that color, this color is now the same as the color here for this wheel hubs, which might make sense, right? That might be a cool thing to have. But we can also go in and just change it to something completely different. And so that's kind of the idea of using this color placement texture for the base colors, is that you can then later go in and actually change the base color. Arcane is having issues with these tabs. For a minute I was like, what? It's just absolutely glowing now. I don't exactly know what I want here. That is how many of these shall we say, how a lot of this coloring happens is that I just try things till I find something that's interesting. Maybe we want to keep this saturation just like almost at 0 or exactly at 0, and then just play with the value here. That could be the right thing, but I'm not sure. It kind of feels like you don't want to make these what do you call these, like rims for a truck in a sci-fi universe be very bling bling. They should be kind of down to earth, uninteresting almost. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. I think we're gonna make this inner piece that same color. If at some point these things come off, or I just place these like wheels as dynamic objects in the world, which I may do, then these things will be visible. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now it is also that color. Do you AI in any way or form? Probably. Do you use AI in any way or form? Not really, no. I'm trying to think if I use it somewhere. Like I don't use it in programming. If that is what you're asking, no, I don't use it in programming. First of all, this is my own game engine. No AI agent is going to be trained on my game engine. If I ask it how do I do this, it will go like, what are you talking about? So that won't end well. The other thing is that I'm using Zig, which is almost completely, well, I don't know, maybe it can be used with AI these days, but it's not like a really well used language or a language that the AI agents know a whole lot about compared to something like C++ or C# or Rust or whatever. Lower control arm is upper control arm. And yeah, this is a little stupid, the fact that you have to move these to the origin for exporting them. At one point I had a what did I do? Did that actually not export? Suspension knuckle failed. Contains no meshes. That's not good. Let's see. Knuckle. And now it worked. Okay. Not sure what I did there. This is that's spring, and this is spring outer. I'm probably gonna want to color that outer spring, but we can still export the mesh here. Then we can only mess around with the material. to color this thing. But now that we've had these things updated, let's run the game. And make sure that those wheel assemblies still look correct. Seems like they do. Oh, you know what I haven't actually realized here is the fact that like these there's many things that are questionable here. It kind of looks like we have one of these faces is like face orientation. Yeah, it looks like that face is missing, right? But it is apparently actually not missing. But one thing that I haven't actually noticed or remembered here is that like these knuckles would need to be rotated as well. You can see this thing looks different than this thing. It's a very small detail again. Not really something that's super important, but maybe we want to be thorough with that as well. Right, let's make that. So for that to work, we would have to go into the wheel. Or is it suspension rendering? Vehicle suspension renderer component. Right, so fixture. Or is it not? No, it's knuckle actually. Knuckle. And so here we have create visuals, part orientation. Yep. I'm just looking at this and going like, hey, isn't this actually handling it already? We have port orientation, which is like if we are on a right side wheel, we rotate it rotate it 90 degrees. Right? And that looks completely correct. And then part rotation is set here on the knuckle. So that's a little weird. And I feel like I say that once every stream I say that's a little weird. Here you can actually see, okay, they are rotated. Yeah, they are rotated. So what was that thing there that we saw in the game then? Ah, no, wrong object type. And like here, this thing is actually not rotated. What? Peculiar. It's probably actually this one which isn't rotated. The left one. Yeah, that probably has to do with the fact that there's another place here, which is the updating of the knuckle. It's right here, right? Yeah. Yeah, this thing is actually wrong. Alrighty then, well, we get to do a little bit of Zig programming already now. Lucky us. So steering angle or identity. And they are they're sort of incorrectly set up here, so that if we are on the right side, we are actually rotating them. For the left side, we're not. Yeah. And here we need to do the same thing. So let's see. So orientation, if we are on a right side wheel, rotate it 90 degrees. Let's call this like side orientation or something like that, right? And then we can do concatenate with that. Or it might be the other way around. That's just identity. So that would be, yeah, okay, that would be quite simply then just side orientation. Actually, I think I want it the other way around. So I want it to be side orientation, concatenate, and then put this thing inside of the concatenation. I think that is how it's supposed to be. Let's see. Let's build this. Yeah, that's better. That is better. So now they're rotated the same way. It really does look like that. Like that. What do you call it? The wheel is sort of incorrectly set there, but I think it's actually like, yeah, it's actually just the wheels. Yeah, we have so much like so much geometry there that's it's kind of intersecting that it kind of looks weird, but it's completely correct now. Okay, well, that's good. That is good. So what we can do now is set up the material for these guys. So first of all, let's do some tweaks to this still, but at this point I think it makes sense to actually bake this into the final texture that we have, and that would be gripper truck wheel diffuse. So let's bake a diffuse with just the color, no indirect or direct lighting. Make sure all images are saved, and then we bake. And this again takes a little while, but not very long because it's such a small texture. There we go. So now it looks like this. Looks decent, I guess. And we can do a save copy, and we save it here next to the other ones so that the game engine can find it. And then we immediately go here and we do wheel. And we find the correct one. Gripper truck wheel diffuse. It's that one. Let's make it a BC7 compressed sRGB texture. And I'm gonna bring it down to 512 by 512 now, just like I said I would. And we'll see if that is okay. And with that we can go and actually make the material. So just copy gripper truck bed and call it gripper truck wheel. And the only thing we will change here is actually make it use gripper truck wheel diffuse right there. No errors, no warnings. Good. Good, good, good. So, now what we can do is we can go in here and again go to vehicle blueprints, and we should be able to change that thing immediately here in the and see it immediately in the preview. We can see that we still have this. It looks almost correct, but it's not correct because it's using just a gray material. So if we switch this out for the proper one, oh, you know what? That might not actually work because those things aren't. Yes, the vehicle suspension renderer component. Let's see if it works. So gripper truck wheel. It's going to be the same material for all of them. I have to unfortunately just specify this whole bunch of times here. Actually, it did work. So here we can see now updated stuff. That looks a little strange. This thing. I have to look at what that is. What that is about. That as well. I think we might have a little too much margin there in our texture. Let's try to bake this with a slightly smaller margin. So let's go with 8 pixels and do the same baking again. Luckily it's a quick thing to do, because that looks suspiciously like we have too much margin there. And there's some crap that we need to fix. Let's worry about that in a second. Yeah, there we go. See now all of those artifacts went away. It's looking basically exactly how we want, like we want it. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. Rightio. Okay. So we have basically like all of the setup done here now. We can still keep this open so we have sort of like a preview of what this stuff will look like. But let's minimize it for now. So first of all, we had some weird issues there. Things like this again. And that looks very much like the flood fill issue that I spoke about earlier. So let's take wheel color placement, this guy. Open it in GIMP, and we should be able to see that, yeah, we have some of this crap here that we need to fix. And there's one as well. The flood fill is annoyingly unreliable. Mostly it has to do with just like these borders of things. But sometimes you get those sort of things just smack in the middle of an island, and I don't exactly understand how that can be, but it probably has something to do with how the implementation of that works. Okay, that's better. So we overwrite that, and then we can go here to color placement. Like this, for example, it's not even close to an edge. Now we can fix it like that, and we should be rid of those issues. So now if we want to actually color this spring part somehow differently, should be a very easy thing to do. Just select all of those again, and quite simply decide what color it should be. Not sure I know what that would be. We don't use the yellow for anything yet, so we can use the yellow channel and then decide if we indeed want it to be yellow or not. Or sorry, blue channel is the one which is currently yellow. So 1, 2, 3, 5. Huh? No. Oh, I'm painting into the wrong texture, which is very easy to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now it's yellow. And do we want it to be yellow? I don't know. Yellow can be kind of interesting. Maybe we'll keep it as yellow for now at least. So save that. Again, select all of those. Now we want to paint into diffuse. Save all images and bake. Now we see the yellow stuff appearing here. Here's something like, what is that? I bet if we go into the color placement, look at that. There's the thing. There's the thing. Why is there a thing? Ah, it's that one, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, that's a little stupid. Now if we take this and we rebake it, it should go away. All right. We have just a little bit too much margin still. 7 pixels margin. Bake. Yeah, that should be fine. So now we should see it show up here, and we do. So is that a cool looking suspension? I mean, I guess it's fine. Shut down that and go into the actual game and have a look. then we have the yellow springs, suspension springs. We still don't have the wheels set up correctly. And if I remember correctly, the wheels actually have to be set up in a slightly different place. So gripper truck, this should have a place for the wheels. Yes, it's that guy. Bin material. That is the render material for the wheels. Actually, we could have maybe just adjusted it while the game was running. I don't remember if that actually hot updates. But there we go. Now we have the wheels. Now we have the wheels properly colored and everything. Alright, and that is basically textures for everything then. Of course, except the crap painting, the dirt painting, which still needs to happen, at least for some of the main parts. So now if we drive in here, we should have none of those really bright things anymore. Everything should get suitably dark when we drive into the house, and it does. That's nice. Except the interior is kind of mysteriously lit now. That's at least how what it looks like. I think it's the same actually with the Scout, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, the interior looks a little strange. Won't deny that. Now if we lift some stuff into the back. Ah, almost had it. Let's go a little bit further. There we go. And we can tilt the bed to make them fall back a little bit, so that we have more space to actually load more stuff. That's pretty cool. Oh no. Oh no, the gripper hand got sort of... Need to raise it to get unstuck here probably. Yeah, it kind of lifted me into this rack. That was a bit stupid. Yeah. All right. So that's that. So let's do a little bit of work on the interior still. That should not, like, I don't think I'm gonna texture the interior. I might add a material which uses the light probe so that they don't look sort of strange and almost like lit in dark areas. That might be worth it. Spend a little bit of time doing that. But other than that, yeah, this is kind of starting to work, this vehicle. It's taken me quite a lot of time to actually get this done. Started working on this vehicle right after pre-alpha 1, which was something like 4 months ago, and then took like a 2-month break, 3 months even, maybe 3-month break, and I didn't really do anything. And now it's been sort of like a sprint to finish it. Can we actually lift that thing? Let's see. I think we might be able to lift it. Yep, it's pretty heavy though. It's pretty heavy. Let's see. Oh no. We can't lift it with both of those inside of it. Let's see if can I get unstuck, which should try to rewind me back towards that previous place. If we can get like, can we get back on the right keel again? So this is like a gameplay helper that I added, so that like if you are stuck, you can use that to try to get unstuck. And whether it works depends a little bit on how stuck you are. Destroy one of the game objects. Can we lift that? Yeah, that seems to work. The rear wheels are in the air though. Alrighty then. I don't actually want that. Let's just reset it. Hey! Yeah, that's an issue with this vehicle. It kind of launches things into the air. I need to have a look at that before Monday. There's some physics things. If there's like a small little nudge in like an unfortunate direction, mostly upwards, it kind of just throws things into the air because it has so much more mass than those small things. So yeah, that needs a little bit of figuring out. Another thing which is like can be a little problematic with this vehicle, and something I think actually just happened there is that like if you jump with this, occasionally the gripper claw in the front can be the thing that actually hits the ground, so you might want to lift it up a little bit if we're going to do a lot of off-roading. Alright, coolio. So, what about the interior then? Let's take a look at the mother vehicle for an inspiration. I'm just gonna place one of those here. It's super big, so let's see. Alright. So we don't want to spawn it like inside of another object. So for the mother vehicle, I have just this. It's sort of like a commando, like, what do you call it? Like a bridge on a ship, right? The mother vehicle is a little bit of a special case, of course, but I want to do something kind of similar here. Just that there's like just a little bit of a hint of something being here. Give it a little bit more of like a cockpit feel. Right? So let's do that. Let's do that next. Right, so this code was good. I'll minimize that for now. So here is the interior. It's a very simple mesh. Mostly just a box with a little bit of it's sort of like following the outer mesh a little bit here in the front, not really in the back at all. I think we had a scale mannequin here. What we need to probably... Okay, it's just that is... Yeah, we have all kinds of things here actually. Let's bring that actually over to there. We don't need any texture stuff for a little while. I'm mostly just interested in this. What's that? Oh, that's some old crap. We can actually remove that completely, I think. I don't think we're interested in that at all. Like so. And what's that then? That's an old wheel. Those are also some old wheels. Actually, maybe we can leave those. Don't need it. So here's sort of like my prototype truck, which I used as kind of like a size reference for this. Yeah, and then we have a scout there. But okay, if we have this guy, let's maybe use some other mode here to see this a bit easier. If that's the size of a human, essentially. And we can bring the human into the thing. So like the hypothetical driver would be like mostly sitting at around this place, right? Something like that. Let's take these two. And maybe before I actually start, I'm gonna want to duplicate this so that we have a copy of it if we break this, or if we are interested in like how did the original one look. It looks like I have a mirror modifier on this thing, which is completely fine. I just kind of didn't remember that was the case. That probably means that I can take that mirror modifier away for a bit. So here we need to be a little bit careful with like how we move this upper row of pixels, because it needs to match this outer outer surface, right? So let's see, maybe that is a better way to triangulate that. Maybe even that. Okay, something like that. And then we'll take this and make some sort of kind of like middle console here. Actually, take the floor away for a bit. Take that one. this sort of line here is a little, doesn't flow all that nicely. See if I can make it a little more sensible. That's maybe a little more sensible. Right. What does the interior of a car look like? Probably some sort of dashboard here. Like, despite the fact that I'm making a car game, I'm actually not much of a car person in real life. They're sort of kind of annoying things in many ways. I do actually have, or we have a couple of cars in real life, and I do drive them almost every day, but I'm not much of a motor head. I just kind of like cars in video games. Again, like one of these things where I'm not exactly sure what I want here. I'm just trying out different things, and that like clearly didn't really do it for me. Let's do something with this thing here. I'm gonna cut out a few faces. Up, face, please. Face. Extrude. Y. Actually, yeah, we need to probably do it this way instead. Let's take like those two, extrude Y. Snap that to there, snap that to there, so that that's now straight. And we have that. And then extrude Y. Actually, let's drag these here first, like so. Oh, that's not what I want. That's what I want. So we get sort of a straight line first here. We can maybe bring this a bit forward. Probably needs to somehow connect to this, right? That kind of makes sense. Not sure this is the best way to model something like this, but it's kind of like what I or how I want to do this right now, just kind of exploring. Let's do shift, come on. There we go. Slide along edge, that's what I wanted. take the roof away for a bit so we can more easily see into the thing. Kind of like that, maybe. Yeah, this thing is though still very sort of slanted. So if we bring it downwards a little bit. Yeah, that's more like it, I think. Hide more of these things so we can see even better into the thing. What is that, by the way? Let's merge it with that one, I think. There we go. Hide all of that. So now we have a better view into the thing. All right, is this starting to look like a car of some sort? I'm not sure. Not quite. It's more like an aircraft. But it is... I'm quite fine with that, actually. It doesn't necessarily need to look like the cars that we are used to. That's a completely unnecessary edge, actually. I think those should probably be sharp as well. Simplifying this a little bit. Okay, something like that. How does that now work with the actual thing? It's kind of starting to look like something. It's not all that bad for not really having any references or anything like that. If I may say so myself, but it's not the most beautiful thing ever. Let's see. I think we could maybe have something here in the roof. So the roof is just one big, not dissolve, but actually take it away for a bit. So if we basically extrude that, then we take away that face, and then we take away that face. Then we bring this up to here. We get this sort of shape. I think I'm almost trying to sort of evoke the idea of like an airplane cockpit here with this now. Kind of keep coming back to it for some reason. So I think that's what we're going with. Yeah, and this thing didn't really work, so let's get rid of that. And extrude. But like so, and then we don't actually need that at all. We don't see it anyway. Something like that. Sure, do we actually need all of this geometry here? I think maybe I'll play it safe and not really go deleting any of that, because it might be important. I think it probably actually is. All right. So what do we think? Should we put in some very rudimentary sort of seat here? Would that make sense? I think it definitely would make sense for a vehicle to have a seat. But does it make sense to have a seat in this very sort of almost like abstract representation of you know, an interior like this? But maybe this. Let's give it a go. Extrude along normals. Burp. Out like that. Extrude that as well, and then that as well. So where's our Mr. Scale Mannequin now? Just those two. Yep, the seat needs to be larger. I think something like that. That looks more his size, his or her. Whoa, come on. Hello, Wookie. What's up? I've been so so concentrated on this now that I haven't watched the chat at all. But welcome. Yeah, we don't need those faces. Okay, so how's this looking now? I think that looks pretty decent. The idea is just to like convey enough of a sense that like, yeah, there's something in there. Not even any people yet. And I'm not exactly sure if I even want that to be, if I want there to be any sort of like driver here. Maybe I do. But yeah, I think it makes sense to have a little something, just to so that it's not an absolutely empty room, because that just looks weird and wonky. Alright, I'm gonna hide this chair. It's a pretty good chair, but I'm gonna hide it for now so I can verify these. I think that should be beveled. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we'll leave it as it is. And then let's do a little bit more simplification here. So let's just completely get rid of that, right? Oh, actually, maybe it makes sense to have that because it connects to this guy here. Yeah, on the other side. So let's actually, I think that's one that makes sense to have. This thing can be moved probably back quite a bit. connect those, why not? Yeah, I think I'm about to reach the sort of complexity I want here now. Let's put something here in the back wall to make it a little less like just like an empty square room. What do we do here? Something to break up the shape. Oh, what is that, by the way? That's a rogue vertex. Merge it. There we go. And also we can do 3D print check all. Yeah, that looks good. We don't have any non-manifold edges in other places than we actually expect to have them. That's not good. Let's move that to 0. Like so. Same thing there. I'm just making some kind of shapes here in the back wall to make this feel a little bit more like a vehicle rather than a room in a house, and basically calling it a day, I think. Right, we can't do that. But what we can do is that. And that, and then we don't need to really continue this at all, so let's quite simply close it like that. So that's sort of a half of the interior. Let's see what this looks like in the game. If we put this thing into, well, first of all, let's see what it looks like here. I think that looks kind of interesting. Could do something maybe to that top there. If we bevel that corner, I think that's probably gonna work. Yeah, that works. That works fine. And then we have this thing here in the back, which is just like breaking up the silhouette a little bit. I wonder if those are actually worth having there. Can even make them larger. Yeah, why not? Something like that. I don't know. It's probably fine. Alrighty then. So, if I remember correctly, this should actually be exported here where it is currently sitting. Let's do gripper track interior, like that, and then open a preview here to see what we have. Right, so here's the thing. And yeah, it's just conveying a little bit of an idea that, oh, there's an interior. Of course there's an interior, blah blah blah. If we play this game now, especially if we drive into that warehouse where we've been a few times already, I think we're gonna find that it will look kind of strange though, because again the light probes make everything else darker, but it doesn't affect that material. Yeah, you can sort of see that there's something there, but I'm actually kind of happy with the fact that it's a little difficult to read. It's actually easier to do it here inside now when everything else is more dark. Now we can like very clearly see what is in there. So what I'm thinking is that we should probably make a new material, which is like vehicle interior, which is basically the same as this, but it does react to light probes. That makes sense. And if we get that done, then I think we are basically done with the visuals for this guy. For pre-alpha 2 at least. So there's still some work left to do. Things like engine sound, and also some of that physics jankiness needs to be looked at. But I think overall this is starting to look pretty nice. I'm liking it a lot. And it's also really easy to like load cargo with now, which is a definite improvement over the gripper from pre-alpha 1, which no one likes playing with. So that's pretty great. Just come in here and go, whoop, I want that, give it to me. And then it stops in mid-air. If you want to just put it somewhere else, if you want to do that, you can do that. Let's try putting it on the shelf. It will require a little bit of finagling. And there's stuff in the way there. Yeah, you can put it on the shelf. And we can even bring this up and use the fingers to kind of poke it forward a little bit. Like burp. There we go. Now it's on the shelf. Boink. Oh. Yeah, you need to be a little careful when the arm comes back down after you've loaded something, because it can lead into cases where it gets stuck. That's also the fun of it. Let's see, I'm gonna call the monorail here. And let's load this one. Monorail is one of those places where like you can quite easily get those physics jankiness problems. Because like one of the main situations in which those happen is that like you have a wheel, you sort of drive off a ledge somewhere, like here for example, and then you can see already things like this. These are a little bit problematic because the vehicle just sort of like nudges back. Ooh, things are already almost jumping out of the thing. And so there's a little bit of physics tweaking to be done there to make potentially materials a little bit less bouncy or something along the lines of that. Let's raise this a little bit and we can get further into the thing. I think basically the monorail is the only place in the demo, pre-alpha demo, which is like actually more difficult to use with the new gripper truck than it ever was with the old gripper vehicle. Just because this is larger. It's a lot larger than the old vehicle, and it doesn't turn as well. You can still use it though, as evidenced. Ooh. Let's dump some crap here and pick up some more power cells from the dispenser building. Hey Matt, welcome back. What's going on? So in the demo you can only pick up one power cell from this. The thing essentially like breaks down after that. But now that we're not playing the campaign, you can just spawn in an infinite amount. Bonk. Let's see if I can get all of these five cells back. If we're using the monorail, it is probably it's probably going to be possible either way. The monorail might be one of the easier ways to get it there, but you have to be very careful that you don't run into those bouncy physics issues here when you're driving aboard the monorail. Because like this vehicle doesn't fit sort of like sideways in here. You need to have it like this at an angle. Truck's looking very red. Yeah, I went with the red one for this. Although it's all kinds of like green and yellow and everything. Like I was thinking we don't have a red vehicle yet. We have the Scout which is green. We have the mother vehicle which is yellow. Maybe we should have a red truck. And maybe there is even some sort of gameplay benefit to, like, you know, maybe you can spot easier which one is which from a distance or something. It's not necessarily what I had in mind when I was choosing the colors here. Be careful. Yeah, if you're careful, you can do it pretty easily actually. Oh, I don't wanna spill my cargo here when I've gone this far. So now, of course, what we can do is probably won't do anything now that we don't have the campaign running, but we can unload these guys here. Oh, come on. What's going on with you two? Those guys are sort of stuck there. Okay. Okay, we can fix this. Let's see. If I... Oh, there we go. Only thing I needed to do was to actually drive. Drive. Come on, fall out. There we go. Now we can load these guys into the receptacles. And it's actually pretty easy to do it now. Once I've changed this loading quick action to be more context sensitive. So if you click this once, it's just a one button click. It tries to grab something. If you have it somehow like in a slightly wonky position and you click it once, it goes back to the beginning. And then if we actually have something here and we click it once, it grabs it and loads it, and then actually keeps it here in the air in such a way that you can, among other things, put it into one of the receptacles. Bloops. There we go. And again, click it once and it goes back to the rest pose. And if you want to load it into the back, you click it once, and when it has grabbed it, you can click a second time, in which case it will actually load it all the way back into the bed and then reset itself. So it's pretty handy. It's all just one button click. You don't need to go into the separate gripper arm mode anymore. You can still, of course, do that, and as of yesterday, like the movement of this is also analog, so you can move it very, very little or quite a lot. And you typically still need to use that for some more exotic situations. Let's separate these two a little bit before we pick them up. Yoink. There we go. That's 3 of them in the bank. And yeah, nothing happens here, of course, because this is not the campaign. Alrighty then. So I'm gonna go get a glass of water, and then we're gonna start looking at that interior material. So be back in a sec. Alrighty then. So let's have a look here. I should have a suitable base material for us. So if we go to means data work folder root game materials. Actually, what we can even do is we can go here to these materials that we've just been creating, like the wheel, for example. Now this is a material variant, as we can see here. The material variant, which is called Gripper Truck Wheel, which is based on base material diffuse light probe. And so if we create another material variant for this, we can use something like black maybe. Black might actually not be what we want. Texture's gray. What is that actually? Let's have a look. What does it look like? Texture's gray. It's a gray texture. Who would have thought? So if we use the gray texture, that gives us sort of a pretty good kind of like middle point between black and white. And then we do, this could actually potentially go in the same materials. Let's call this vehicle interior. Single color or something. Let's call it vehicle interior gray. Why not? And then we build that and shut that down. Resource path, let's copy that. Truck, yes. Yes, please. And we find the interior mesh, which is here. Then just use that instead. It looks basically like the same. Use it something like green. Green. And we can see it actually changed. It's almost exactly the same as before. So now let's keep the scout actually using the one that it did use. And we can compare. We can compare the interior material for this new guy. Whoop. Fly here immediately. I'm gonna spawn a scout and I'm gonna spawn gripper truck. And then actually let's drive this guy into the garage first. We should have the weird sensation where it almost looks like this is it's like a light on inside of that. That's that. Then we drive this in. Now if my calculations are correct, look at that, it doesn't look like it anymore. Isn't that somewhat cool? And you can even see it like the interior gets a little bit of the red color from you know this somewhat red glow that we have going on here inside of, or brown, whatever that is. And if we back the thing out of the building, Elvis has left the building. When we fly in here, we see that it's no longer picking up on that. Instead, it's picking up on the outside ambient. That's nice. That's basically what I wanted. Yeah, so it remains to be seen if I actually want to place some like characters in there. It is possible that I will want to have some sort of very basic character there, but for the time being, I don't think I'm gonna do that. But anyway, let's put that same material in use in the scout as well. I'm gonna look at the interior here while I'm changing it. Yeah, this thing doesn't even have any kind of dashboard or anything like that, so that's something that we might want to do at some point. Chassis mesh means vehicle. Where's the interior? Interior mesh is right there. Yeah, it changes color a little bit. Same thing with Mother. Mother also has an interior mesh. Looks like this. The camera here is a little wonky in this preview if you want to actually. There we go, there's the interior mesh. Base mesh, windshield mesh, interior mesh. Boop. There we go. So that's cool. Let's actually ask our gripper truck friend to come along for the ride. Come here. Open the main gate. All right, come on, come on, come on. Let's see how it does. Let's find its way here. Yeah, the particles still don't pick up on the light probes. They should probably do that as well. Actually, that material could probably be made to do that quite easily. There's a little bit of drunk driving going on. It's a little bit of drunk driving going on. Okay, so now we should have the red glow here inside the vehicle as well. This Scout, and we do. Nice. Okay, get out of the way, please. That was very unhelpful of you, my dude. It's trying to get out of the way. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Alright, come out here. Yeah, we should make this a so-called no reverse turn zone. There's a node you can add in the level editor, which you can add to a certain area if that area is sort of tight enough that it makes it tricky for AIs to actually like make reverse turns. We can maybe turn this just a little bit like that. Now if we ask it, come on, should be able to drive out there without any issues, and it can. Oh yeah, some of the issues, actually quite a few places in the level are marked as no reverse zones. They're only marked as such for the mother. The mother is large enough that it like gets stuck pretty easily in a lot of places if you don't do that. Yeah. Yeah, here's the older gripper if you haven't seen it. So this is the one that you can play if you download the build that is available today, so-called pre-alpha 1. This is the gripper vehicle that you'll get. And it was an idea that never really sort of taken to its full potential, so to say. It's almost sort of like a forklift or whatever. Oh yeah, the gripper truck actually works a lot better, but almost everything this thing was supposed to handle. Don't drive into me, please. Yeah, that's that. Okay, so I think we have the visuals for the truck now done, as far as I will take it for pre-alpha 2. That's kind of neat. And so the question now remains, do I keep going with this stream or do I call it a day? I'll still probably do a little bit more work on this guy today. Because there are some things that still need to be tweaked. They're not necessarily visual related or visual things. There are some things that we need to fix behavior wise. So what do you guys think? Do you wanna see more streams today? Regardless if that is the case or not, I will probably take a little bit of a break. Go make some food. And then come back. Are you guys interested in seeing more gripper work being done today? Or should we call it a day and return another day with another topic? Do let me know. Does the topic even matter? I don't mind more streams. I'm being quiet because I'm working, but I'm looking with one eye. That's completely fine. I'm glad if I can provide that sort of background noise. It's come up actually several times in the last few streams that people use this as kind of background noise when they're working. That's absolutely fine. I don't expect anyone to follow every single mouse click and button press that I do here with interest. That would be kind of ridiculous. So one thing that I could maybe look at today still, a little bit later though, but if there's interest, I might stream a little bit more, is this thing. There's a fairly ridiculous, I wouldn't necessarily call it bug, because it's working exactly how it should, essentially. But let's see if we can find, like, well, actually we can probably use this monorail support here. Let's see if I can reproduce this thing. So here we have a static object. Oh dear. Here we have a static object. If we grab this static object, we need to be a little careful, because like you can see that it's actually like sort of like penetrating the object there. But still, if we do this and then we start to actually, okay, that doesn't work. We probably need a tree or something, like something that is more, something thinner. There we have the tree. Let's use this tree here. See if I can show you this issue. Alright, I can't actually use the quick action for that now. So again, let's be a little careful, because this thing doesn't actually stop squeezing with these static objects. But here you can see we're essentially like holding the tree with the claw, and then we're slowly rotating the arm, and you can lift up the whole vehicle like this on static objects. And that is not really an issue per se. I don't mind having your, you know, the possibility to do stupid things like this if someone wants to do it. The thing that is like perhaps the bigger issue is the fact that like if you squeeze it, like it doesn't stop squeezing, it does things like this, and then it just like bugs out. Now you're kind of stuck, even though it kind of looks like you're not really even holding the tree. So what we would need to do here is, yeah, now we're just completely borked, probably. So look here, what do we have? Probably one of those physics shapes is somehow like completely borked out. And you can see it just sort of jittering out a bit there. And I don't think we can even necessarily let go of this tree now. Actually, we managed to get unstuck, but now you can see it. Now it's not jittering anymore, because it's like one of the bodies there got stuck, and it's almost impossible to get it unstuck. And what we would have to do is just like it realizes that, okay, now I'm about to grab a dynamic object, I better stop squeezing now and instead create a physics joint to the object. Just how we do that with dynamic objects, we kind of need to do that with static objects as well. Like this. Like no matter how much I try to press the squeeze button, the system has determined that actually we're holding this car now pretty rigidly. I can just lift up the whole car like this. And now I can go and drop the car off somewhere else. Better be quite careful with how I drive though. And I think you can even just drop it into the thing, right? You can drop it into the back, except we had a power cell there. So that's one thing that still needs to be done before pre-alpha 2, to handle that better. Oh, another thing that I wanted to actually implement is the fact that, like, if you have an object held, let's put a box there. If you have an object held here, and click this object, like it keeps it held like this. Now, actually, if you want to let this go, currently what you need to do is you need to go into the gripper arm mode, where you can move this thing freely, and then you need to press Y or you can just manually let go of the grip. But I was thinking that, like, since you can do this by just pressing a button, it would be nice if you could hold down that button and that would actually let go of the thing, right? Now if I press it again, it actually loads it. That might be another thing to add here. Sliding out. So yeah, lots of little fixes and things to do still. I'm going to make the vehicle twerk. Well, yeah, that's basically what happens now when you start messing with the things that the gripper arm isn't necessarily set out to handle. Okay, guys, I'm gonna take a break now. Go make some food. If you like this kind of stuff, then be sure to check in about an hour or so. I will most likely going to be continuing this thing today. I can't promise anything because so I haven't checked out if I need to do something else tonight. But I think I probably don't. So I will most likely be back in about an hour. Or hour and a half, something like that. And then continue finishing up the truck as the title says. So, look forward to that if that is interesting. And if you can't be here in an hour and a half, then I thank you for your time. I wish you a good rest of the day.